I just arrived yesterday from Berlin, which apparently is very far away, because I feel very crazy right now. But it's really, really exciting to be here in Sydney, and I had a really wonderful time last night meeting some of the local community members from Etsy. So if any of them are here, thanks for also making me feel even crazier today by keeping me out late. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of Etsy and what role community plays at Etsy, and why we think it's important not just for our business, but for a more sustainable future for the world, hopefully. So I'm going to take it way back to this neighborhood in Brooklyn. This is Fort Greene. This is where we started Etsy. Actually, you can kind of see right over here in this apartment. And at the time, my roommate was a guy named Rob Kalin. And he was kind of struggling to finish. I think he'd been to 5 colleges at that point. But one of those really, really creative people. And he'd just finished school, and at the time he was making these handmade wooden computers. And they were really, really cool. And he was thinking like, okay, I'm going to try to sell these. Like, these are actually really cool. And so he thought about eBay, but he was like, it's not really well suited for creative people. And I apologize if anyone from eBay is here. But, it's great for some things. But, these are products that have a deeper meaning and, I'd say a story with them. And I don't think eBay is necessarily perfectly suited for these kinds of things, or for people who have emotional connection to the goods that they're selling. So he looked around and he realized that, everybody he knew was a maker, was pursuing some sort of creative pursuit. So he and I had a screen printing business together. I was a full-time musician. Chris, who was was the first programmer of the site, was an animator. And he realized that everybody was trying to make a living with what they were making, and there wasn't really a good place for creative people. So he came up with this idea, Etsy.com, which is a marketplace for buying and selling handmade goods and vintage goods directly from the people who bring them about. So we started in that apartment 6 years ago in Brooklyn. It'll be 6 years in about a week or so. And now we have about 9 million members, and we're selling about 8.5 million products on the site right now. And our artists will sell about $600 million worth of goods this year. And what's really exciting about that actually is that 96.5% of that money is going back to the people who make the stuff. So we are an e-commerce website. We are a marketplace, but we like to think of ourselves as a marketplace in a much more traditional sense. So, before there were Amazon and .com and, shopping malls and all of these things, right, there were these crossroads. And you would go and you'd meet people at these crossroads and you'd connect with them and you'd exchange with them. You'd say, oh, here's some spices from, the town I come from, and here's, some stuff from the town I come from. And, of course it was about the exchange of goods, and it was about commerce, but it was also about connecting with people and, finding a spouse, or like catching up on gossip, or whatever it may be. It was really about connecting as a human more than just connecting in commerce. So this is actually a scene from a flea market in Brooklyn, and what I love about this is actually that I feel like culturally we're returning to a point where we're connecting as humans first, and in commerce second. So this is very much the idea that's central to Etsy. So, 200 years ago, whenever it was, right, you bought your shoes from a local cobbler, and you knew the person who made your shoes, and you knew the person who grew your food, and that was important because the fact that he was a member of the community mandated that his shoes would have to be well made because his reputation was dependent upon it. Likewise, if you had a connection with him, he was more likely to support you in the things that you bought or sold. So, it was really about having a meaningful relationship with the people who provide the goods and services in your life. And this is entirely the idea behind Etsy. So at Etsy, you're only buying directly from the people who bring the things about. And it's about that direct connection. So when I start to think about the ways that the community manifests itself at Etsy, it's really tricky for me because this is Etsy. Etsy is only its community. We're nothing else besides that, right? We're just a platform that brings the people together, and then the community decides what Etsy is. So I found this the other day. I really like this plush lumberjack from an artist on Etsy named Mimi Kirchner. It makes really beautiful dolls. And I was thinking, like, you know, if tomorrow everybody on Etsy decided to sell plush lumberjack dolls, then that's what we would be. We'd be just a marketplace for plush lumberjack dolls. And, you know, if we didn't sell any of these dolls, then, like, you know, we would fail too. So it's a completely symbiotic relationship. So we have to really start thinking about our community as our partner. And I think that this is really the key idea, is that, you know, we do think of our community as our partner. And because of that, it's completely changed the way, or rather, it completely changed, I think, what our business would have been if it had been planned by business people and not by people who are just like scuzzy artists in Brooklyn trying to make a living. Because, you know, if it had been a business, we wouldn't have taken 3.5%. We wouldn't have, like, created grant programs or teams or done all the things that we do now that I think are so important to Etsy. So to me, it boils down to, you know, having a meaningful relationship with your customer by thinking of them as your partner. And because we think of our customer as our partner, you know, sorry, this is the jet lag. I'm like, I left on Wednesday and arrived on Friday, which also seems weird to me. Anyways, sorry. Let me go back to this. So when you think about your community as your partner, right, it changes the way that you behave as a company. So every month, you know, we publish all of our financial data. We publish all of our business plans. You know, I think this is a very different way from thinking where many companies are like, we have to have that strategic advantage and hide that thing. We're like, well, no, I mean, you know, you sold $600 million worth of stuff. We didn't. You know, we applaud you for that success. It's not about what we did. We're just trying to facilitate that. So it also, you know, created a whole different kind of culture in terms of you know, how we market the site, how we grew the site. You know, I came to Etsy as the marketing director in the very beginning, knowing nothing about marketing. And I think that was probably the best thing that ever happened for the company, because, you know, sure, we could have, like, taken out one ad in a print magazine and blown our whole budget, or, you know, instead we chose to create grant programs to provide grants to artists to help them connect with one another and sell at venues offline or promote their own goods. You know, it's the reason why every time I come to any town, I go out and, you know, I meet with the Etsy sellers there. I'm usually the only guy there, so it was nice to have Brian there last night. But we'll be doing the same thing in Melbourne tomorrow. But to me, it's more like a shareholder meeting. It's a chance for the community to ask me anything they want to know about the business. It's a chance for me to explain a bit about, you know, what we were thinking when we did something. You know, but most importantly, I think it's a chance for the local community to connect with one another. And this, to me, is one of the most important things when you're building a community, you know, is create the opportunities for the people to connect and then get out of the way and let them connect to each other. So there's a lot of ways that we do this. There's also some other really important roles that the community plays at Etsy. Unlike a lot of kind of traditional commerce companies, we're not looking more at, like, seasonality or purchase behavior, these kinds of things. We're giving the community the tool to curate the marketplace. And what they do is they create these treasuries, among other things. These are member-curated collections, and every day, you know, 10,000 of them are created and shared. And the best ones come up to the surface and make the homepage of our site. So you can see up in the corner, this one was created by someone named Racy Tay. But they put together really amazing collections. So they're a really powerful curatorial force. Also on Etsy, the community, each member creates their own social graph on Etsy, where they can follow other people, artists they like, friends of theirs who have good tastes. And then they see kind of the curatorial actions of a trusted network of people. So rather than us saying, well, it's Christmas, so we're going to put this Santa Claus doll on the front page, you know, I know that Marie has really good taste, and she's curating the marketplace for me. So again, it's about people connecting as humans rather just than connecting in commerce. We have something called Etsy Labs in Brooklyn, and in, which is our main headquarters, and in Berlin, which is our European headquarters. And this is the Etsy Labs in Berlin. And the idea is it's a space where we have screen printing presses, sewing machines, basically everything you need to make things. And every Monday night we have a free event where you can come and learn how to make whatever it may be. On Thursdays we usually have business-focused events where we'll teach you about product photography, marketing, branding, these kinds of things. They're always free, and the idea is it's about bringing the community together. So we do these in other cities too where we don't have our own physical spaces, but we partner with art schools, with museums, and we just create a space where the community can come together and share in making. We have teams, I think, I didn't mention this. I met some of the people from the Sydney team yesterday, but they're groups of artists that come together around shared interest or location. We have 50,000 active team members around the world, and I just did a search on Canada when I was making the slides. So as you can see, there's just a whole bunch of different Canadian teams. And we support these teams with grants and things like that. One thing I also wanted to talk about is there's a lot of tools that we don't have on Etsy, but that are just out there in the world and are free and are amazing. And I encourage anyone who's trying to build a community around their business to not always try to reinvent the wheel and build everything yourself. So this is a tool that I really love. It's from a company called Meetup.com. And this is Meetup Everywhere. And basically it allows communities around the world to create an event and connect it to other events. So last year for our birthday, we organized a craft party where it was a night where people got together with their friends and families and made stuff. We had about 700 or 800 events in one night last year, and this year we're doing it again this Friday, and I think we're already up over 10,000 people having simultaneous events in one night. And what's so cool about that is this is just a tool that's out there on the web. And so this is not something we built, but again, give the opportunities for the people to connect and then let them connect. So I wanted to talk a little bit about web communities in general. And a lot of people always ask me, well, you guys have such a strong community, how did you do it? And I can only really speak for what's been useful for us. And I think there are some ideas that hopefully I've gotten across in my jet-lagged craze. But it's about being accessible. It's about being honest and transparent. It's about having meaningful relationships with your customers. It's about thinking about them as partners in your business rather than members and figures and things like that, right? I think it's about giving them opportunities to connect to one another. I think it's about valuing their success more than your own. For me, it's about standing for something bigger as a company than just for making money. I think this is a very central idea to Etsy, right? Our vision is to change the way that world commerce works by empowering individuals, by connecting and creating community-based economies. And this is a really big idea for me. And I think that I'm very passionate about this, and I think that resonates with certain people in the community too, and that makes them want to be a part of our community. So it's for big ideas. But I was thinking about this, and I found this slide the other day, and it's a public domain photo, or rather a Creative Commons photo from Flickr. And I was thinking about ceiling fans, and how I feel like every company now, even your ceiling fan company, is join our community. And I was I need a ceiling fan, I guess, but I don't necessarily want to talk to other ceiling fan owners. It's not something that really, maybe it's not the best approach for everybody, And so I think that's something to think about too. And one of the reasons I think that communities have formed at Etsy is precisely because of who is selling the things and more importantly, what they're selling. And so I kind of wanted to just end with a few thoughts about why it's good to have a connection to the things in your life. So, going back to these older marketplaces I was talking about, right, where people connected with each other and there was a more meaningful relationship there. I want to also think about, production too, and how things have changed. So, right, with mass production, all of a sudden you started to see people moving away from, being cobblers to to working on assembly lines, right, and getting ever more disconnected or removed from the goods in their lives and from the people who they were producing them to or selling them to, right? It stopped being about caring how your customer felt about something. It was more about, is that red light telling me I'm almost out of time? I'll speed it up. And then I think we kind of devolved from the assembly line even further to, just people who were kind of part of the, I don't know what you call this, what do you call these people? I don't know, desk jockeys. That's me. Not actually, but that's how I am every day. And, at the end of the day, you're kind of like, what did I actually make? What did I actually, did I do anything? And it's also vague to me. And I think when you've made something with your hands, there's no doubt about it, right? You have that connection. And I feel like the act of making is something that is really powerful and innate in all of us. It makes us humans to make things. And I think that that's so important, right? So I'll try to hurry up. Think about your house on fire, right? And you could go in and grab one thing. Now, your flat screen TV or your laptop may be the most expensive thing that you have, but it's totally anonymous. There's a million other, flat screen TVs just like it. But, the quilt your grandmother made, there's only one of that. And, that's what I would save. I would go in and grab that because, there's a human attached to it. And there's a deeper meaning and there's deeper value in it because of the person who made it. And so, when we think now to a world which I feel is actually in a lot of danger right now, and because we're so disconnected from our communities and disconnected from the things in our lives and disconnected from the environment, all of these things I think are really creating a world that's in peril. And so, my hope is that not just for your business, or for our business, connecting to your community is actually, I think, a good thing for the world. So you stop thinking of yourself in this kind of hyper-individualistic way, and to start giving a damn about each other is actually the only sustainable path for the future. So my hope is that, Etsy can be a part of that, but that, anything that encourages people to connect to each other is a good thing. So this is a plug for a conference that we're putting on in Berlin. You can also watch it online, but it's all about small business and sustainability and why community-based economies matter. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.